There's not too many foreigners here, but there's hundreds of thousands of very pretty Vietnamese girls. All in all, the maths is in our favor.
So one girl was asking, girls, has like any one of you ever thought about leaving Vietnam just because of how bad dating life is here? I actually left Vietnam because of that.
Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Sky. Today I want to talk with foreigners on what it's like dating in Vietnam as a foreigner. And if you're new here, welcome. If you'd like to see more interviews of locals and foreigners in Vietnam, hit the subscribe button. And until then, let's get started. Hello, thank you so much for joining. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Tom Redaway. I come from Australia and I'm 33 years old.
How long have you been in Vietnam and what's the best thing you like about living here?
I was here for a month and then I came back about 6 months later for 3 months, and now I'm here for 6 months and maybe I'll be here for a few more years. I'm not too sure. I really love it. I really enjoy it. We were kind of talking before and it really feels like a startup sort of mentality. Lots of hustle, lots of pace, lots of busyness, not too many rules, but everyone's very kind of optimistic for the future and they kind of seem to be working towards something which I really enjoy.
What do you do here in Vietnam?
So I've had about 30 businesses.
He's only 33, guys. Can you believe that?
I do one a year. I've had a lot of businesses. I've sold a couple. Lots of them have failed. But essentially, at the moment, I run a pretty big advertising agency in Australia. So we do a lot of lead generation for real estate agents, and we're the biggest in Australia at the moment. So I kind of built that company to be able to manage remotely. So it wasn't something that I needed to be somewhere. Obviously, I was living in Sydney before this, but the time zones in Vietnam are very good for Australia, and I have staff in the Philippines and the US as well. So there's a really good overlap, but essentially work online, managing lots of clients and lots of ad spend, and have a few software projects as well.
What's it like dating in Vietnam as a foreigner?
I mean, to put it bluntly, it's very good. Like, there are tons of very pretty girls here. Obviously, the population is almost 100 million. The English is pretty good, and compared to Australia and lots of other Western countries, the women here are very feminine, which obviously some guys like, other guys maybe don't like, but it's nice to see like dresses and skirts and high heels and like these sorts of things. Long story short, the Vietnamese girls seem to like foreigners too. And there's a lot of Vietnamese girls and not too many foreigners. So all in all, the maths is in our favor.
In your favor. When you're talking about girls, are you talking about local Vietnamese girls or just like foreigner girls or just girls all in general?
Yeah, I think depending on if they've lived here and never lived overseas or never left here, there's a lot of girls that kind of were born here that are 23, 24 and have never left Vietnam. So they probably have a different perspective to dating in general than those that have lived in Australia or the US or Europe and whatnot. So there's a bit of a difference there. Same thing with like if they live in rural Vietnam, they probably have a different perspective on dating too than if they grew up in like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh as well. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but in general it's a lot more traditional, a lot more conservative, I'd say, than Western countries.
Hello, thanks so much for being here. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Sonia. I am from Russia originally, but I have been living in Vietnam for the past 5 years. First in Hanoi, and then last year I moved to Saigon. So like 2 big cities in Vietnam.
What's the best thing about living in Vietnam?
The best thing about living in Vietnam for me is that it's the international place. There are like lots of travelers and people from all over the world. I have always like enjoyed meeting people from other cultures and talking to people from other countries, and that's why for me it's the best one, that when I live here you have like the company of international people around you, like at your work or as your friends, or like when you go out and meet people from everywhere, and just I love it.
What's it like dating as a foreigner in Vietnam?
Dating as a foreigner in Vietnam can be described by one post that I saw, like a girls group that live in Saigon. So one girl was asking, girls, has like any one of you ever thought about leaving Vietnam just because of how bad dating life is here? And like the post was like full of people. Or I actually left Vietnam because of that. Yes, I'm constantly thinking about leaving Vietnam because of that. I feel like it sums up the dating life in Vietnam as a foreigner. It's like, it's not always easy. There are definitely good stories, and there are stories about girls that like find their love here or whatever. Overall, I think not many people get lucky here, especially for girls. It's very different for boys because a lot easier for them compared to girls.
Why do you think it's more difficult for a foreign woman to date in Vietnam than a guy?
In my opinion, the guys have got so much choice here because there are good foreigner girls, but at the same time they have a very big choice among like Vietnamese girls as well. Most foreigner guys, they would choose to date the Vietnamese girls. I fully understand them because like they're gorgeous and very nice people, but sometimes it gets to the point of like fetishizing them where it's like the profile will say I am looking for a Vietnamese girl. It kind of feels a bit strange because there is such thing as like your type, but then if your type is like a country, then I think it gets a bit strange. And I think that's the difference for girls. They don't just in competition with other foreigner girls, but they're also in a big competition with Vietnamese girls. And then with a small amount, I would say, of decent good guys, it's like gets hard because this small amount of good guys, they would go for Vietnamese girls, and then it leaves the other part of guys to us. Can be tricky. Well, I want to say that it's easy for Vietnamese girls because there are also posts about their negative experience as well. There was also like recent posts about like this guy who was dating like 3 girls at the same time and making them feel special, and then they like end up traumatized and needing like therapy because of how bad this experience was for them, how hard it is for them. It can be even harder for foreign girls here.
How has your dating experience in Saigon been so far?
I mean, it's been great. Like, I'm very honest and upfront with the girls, the women, to kind of begin. Like, I work a lot, probably work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I kind of say pretty much off the bat, like, I'm not looking to get married anytime soon. I'm not looking for a serious relationship, but I'd love to kind of have like a friends with benefits sorts of things where, you know, we go to nice dinners, have some nice chats, go out for drinks every now and again, but it's like a casual thing as opposed to like a super formal thing. And lots of girls, which is great, you know, each to their own, they don't like that. They say, no, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a serious relationship. I'm looking to get married, and that's completely fine. But at the same time, there are lots of girls that are open to it too, or have heard about it, never tried it, want to try it and kind of see how it goes for a couple of months. All in all, I've had probably, you know, 3 or 4 really good friends with benefits type relationships, and all of those girls now have great boyfriends that they're super happy with as well, and like good luck to them sort of thing. So.
They have to experience life once, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they probably watch a lot of Western movies, you know, listen to Western songs and whatnot, and kind of hear people talking about and experiencing things that maybe are a little bit more taboo here. Some of them want to experience it, other ones kind of don't want to kiss a guy before marriage, which is completely fine as well. So each to their own, but I think that over time, Vietnam will probably become more westernized too. So it seems like it's heading in that direction, I'd say.
What's the dating scene like in Vietnam versus back in your home country of Australia?
I mean, I guess I can only speak for myself and my friends who are mainly American, European. One interesting thing is that a lot of the women here want to settle down and have families a lot sooner than Western women. So in Australia, it might be like 27, 28, 29. They want to get serious, settle down, you know, get engaged and start thinking about kids. Whereas here it's like, I would say 50% of 18 and 19-year-old profiles say, like, I want to get married at 18 and 19 in Vietnam.
Like local Vietnamese?
Yeah. And so I'd say the average age here for, you know, I want to settle down and have a serious relationship is maybe 21, 22, which is a very interesting kind of contrast compared to Western society. Going back to that feminine thing, I think it's a lot more pronounced here. Like, you go out to a dinner and all of the women are super feminine, whereas in Australia it might kind of be a bit more of a casual date and you might go to the beach or to the pool or like these sorts of things. But here it's very much like dinner and drinks.
Like more formal?
Yeah, which is super nice. Like, I enjoy that. Sometimes the English barrier is a little bit tough.
That's why you gotta learn Vietnamese.
I had one of the friends with benefits. She pretty much couldn't speak any English at all.
Well, you couldn't speak any Vietnamese.
It's not her fault at all, and she can speak a few words of English,
Sure.
which is a lot better than me, which kind of limited the dates and conversations, so to speak. But she was awesome.
How do you find someone to go on a date with here in Vietnam? What do you use, if you use anything?
So yeah, there's obviously like Tinder, Bumble, there's Hinge. There's a few of these other ones that are more popular in Western countries that aren't so much popular here. But I'd say the two main ones are Bumble and Tinder. And then there's also, not in Australia, but here, there's Facebook dating. You can enable Facebook dating on your phone. It doesn't seem like it's as good a quality, so to speak.
I didn't even know about it.
Kind of interesting, because if you have a few friends on Facebook, there's like mutual introductions and these sorts of other things that the other dating apps don't have. And then I'd say, like, obviously Tinder's a bit more kind of hookup culture, and Bumble's a bit more like dating sort of culture. I mean, the girls here compared to everywhere else in the world, the average is very, very high. I like Vietnamese girls in general, and I'd say that the average girl on there is like 7.5 out of 10, like very, very attractive. Whereas in Western cultures, there might be some 10 out of 10 girls, but the average might be 3 or 4, I'd say. So it seems like the Vietnamese girls, maybe because there's lots of competition or they're a bit more feminine than Western girls, there would be a million very attractive girls in Ho Chi Minh.
And there's few foreigner guys for you, so you're just in luck. Speaking of your rating scale, what's your traits or characteristics that you look for that goes into a possibly 10 out of 10?
10 out of 10. For dating, or for like a friends with benefits thing, or for a wife, or like what do you...
Oh, there's so many questions. Maybe dating, because this topic's about dating. Friends with benefits, that could be a whole other thing.
Sure. Obviously, if you're a foreigner and you only speak English, you want to have some good conversation. For me, a great kind of differentiator is if they've lived in Western countries before, but then they've come back to Vietnam. They kind of understand the difference between the Western culture and the Vietnamese culture, and potentially they make the best of both worlds from the kind of two sectors. Obviously can speak good English, intelligent, they enjoy going to different restaurants, exploring different bars, they're open-minded, they're very feminine, like I like feminine girls. They're kind of very honest with what they want and what they're looking for. I think one of the biggest kind of turn-offs for guys, especially Western guys, is when a girl says one thing and then tries to implement another thing. It's like the whole, can I change him, or I want to change him. I think here, compared to lots of other places in the world, the girls are very good at saying what they want and just like sticking with that, which is awesome. All of those things, it's usually like a 23-year-old girl that's lived over in the US, that's worked in the tech scene, that's come back here and kind of has a family here and like wants to set up her life here, but she speaks good English, very intelligent, and kind of has the open-mindedness of living in a Western country as well. That's usually a good combination. I think that Vietnam has the best dating scene in all of the countries that I've ever been to.
How many countries have you been to?
Like 40, 45.
What makes Vietnam the best dating scene?
Going back to the other thing, is like, obviously I was using a scale before, but there's also scale for guys. Yeah, like the guys need to make money, have a good job, like be presentable, be fit, like these different sorts of things that the women look for too. So I'm not just trying to like rate girls on a scale of 1 to 10. Obviously guys have the scale too. But in terms of pure maths, if the Vietnamese women like or are open to chatting to foreigners, and there's not too many foreigners here, but there's hundreds of thousands of very pretty Vietnamese girls, then obviously like that makes it pretty good. But at the same time, the honesty of what they are looking for and the transparency, I think, makes dating a whole lot easier than in Western countries, because my experience in Western countries is a girl might just say she's looking for something casual, when in reality, in a few months later, she wants to settle down and get married and have kids, and then it can kind of cause some conflict. Girls here are a lot more upfront with what they want straight off the bat, which is awesome.
How has your dating experience in Vietnam been?
As I've mentioned, I've been here 5 years. I have a dating experience in Hanoi and Saigon, and then like if I travel somewhere, sometimes I would go on dates there as well. And I would say there are still good guys. I've had nice dates. It was like a lot of conversation. They're like very romantic, just in general like a very nice time. But then I don't think I've been invited to dates that often. Like I'm very easily impressed. I get impressed if the guy says, "Oh, I want to take you out on a date," because most of the guys say something like, "Oh, you want to hang up? We should hang up sometimes. Oh, we should meet." Not many guys nowadays like call it a date, because they understand that as soon as they use the word date, it entitles them to something, like maybe making it like more special, maybe that it has to lead to something. I've been on some nice dates, but I also met a lot of guys who don't really care about your feelings or use you. What was like their favorite phrase? I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like, you know, like this kind of people. So I met both kind of guys, but ultimately still single. So I guess that's the description of my dating life as well.
What's it like dating in Vietnam versus your home country of Russia?
probably sound strange, but I don't really have a lot of dating experience in Russia because, like, when I was in Russia, exploring like the new city that I moved to, the university life, like I did not really date back home that much. Basically, I moved to Vietnam in 2019 when I was 22, and I would say that after I moved here, I realized that I would like to start dating people and like go on dates and try to find something like real or whatever. I just know that lots of my friends from back home are like married already. I turned 28 last month. A lot of people from my age group or my years are like married or like long time dating. I don't know if it's dating in Russia, what makes it easier for them. But comparison, like I have a lot of friends, girls here in my age group who are single compared to many girls back home who are married, engaged, or dating long term. I cannot really tell you much about dating in Russia because I haven't done that really.
How do you find someone to go on a date with in Vietnam? Or what do you use, if anything?
I think like in 5 years I've tried using almost everything. I have a Bumble account, Tinder account. I actually like recently re-downloaded it because I felt like quality of people I saw on Tinder, don't want like generalize or judge, but at least like according to the, like their profiles and what they say. I just found it's more boys who are interested in something like hooking up or like one night kind of thing, while on Bumble half of the time you meet this, like you see the same people. So many people nowadays have profiles in both places, so it's just like you swipe on one app and you go to another app and you swipe and you see the same faces. Sometimes you just like match with the same people, you like match with a person, you're like, oh wait, like I feel like this face looks really familiar, and then you're like, oh I matched with this person like 2 years ago. Like I also tried using Badoo here, but I didn't really like it, so like it was a short term, so I deleted it. And there's also an interesting app called Boo, BOO. It's considered to be like you can look for both friends there. So like a Bumble has a BFF thing, Boo has the same thing where you can like even look for like friends. I've never met a person from this app though. So if I've ever met people, it would be from Tinder or from Bumble. And of course, obviously, you always can go to events. Living in Saigon is also great because of that, because there are like trivia nights, concerts, open mics, different bunch of events. You can also meet people there. I've definitely met more friends there than people to go on a date with.
Where is the best place to go on a date in Saigon?
For me, if I'm going to go on a date, I kind of like making the most of it, so to speak. So it wouldn't just be like an hour thing and then leave. It might be, there's a cool place called Saigon Sniper where you can go and shoot guns, which is like a cool kind of warm-up spot. And
what
then
district?
It's in D1 and then D3 as well. There's a couple of them around. So we spoke about the wakeboarding before, that's cool, but it's a bit requires a bit more planning. But then maybe like the pool, the cinema, time zone's pretty cool. Then going to like a nice restaurant, and maybe there's some cool bars like My House and this place called Snuff Box and different sorts of, you know, those bars that are kind of like one over the other, over the other, over the other, and you kind of just walk through the stairs. And
The building, same building, sure, yeah.
yeah, have a bit of a look into each ones. I enjoy making a 1 hour date, like a 4 or 5 hour date, and then deciding what to do after that.
If you know what I mean. You've been here for 10 months-ish?
Correct, yeah.
Do you speak any? Can you say any?
I can't, and I'm really bad, and I apologize to everyone watching this.
You can at least say hello, right?
Xin chào, yes, and come on.
Say hello, thank you, that's all you need to know.
I probably have a different experience to most people that live here. Like I work and sit in front of my computer for 18 hours a day. And then for the off time, like I go to the gym. And then I go on dates occasionally. Like that's all I do. I'd love to, but I haven't done the touristy things in Vietnam really. Like I've been to a few trips here and there that were more holidays. When I live in a new place, it's kind of just like a cool place to work, and if I like it, I'll stay for longer. So I'd love to experience more of Vietnam. I'd love to speak Vietnamese, but right now my brain is full.
Where is the best place to go on a date in Saigon?
It depends. For example, I definitely know some good place for dinner. There is a place next to the Japantown called Izakaya 10, which is like a Japanese restaurant. Eat very nice food, not super expensive, and you can talk. It's not the most intimate place though. 101 is something that you need, then it's not the place, but like generally it was good. But I also had a very nice date in the place called Glow Up Mini Golf. I would not mind walking in District 1. I really like the Nguyen Hue walking street. Probably actually my favorite place in Saigon. I go there maybe twice a month. Yeah, so it definitely depends on, do you want to eat? Do you want to just like walk and talk? Or do you want to do some activity like mini golf?
Nice variety.
Yes.
You've been here for 5 years?
Yes.
Do you speak any Vietnamese?
Very minimum. In these 5 years, I've never struggled with not knowing Vietnamese because you want to like buy something and you go to the store and people don't speak Vietnamese. You can always either like show like on the menu or you can use Google Translate. I do feel kind of ashamed about not even trying because like it's been a long time. I have never really needed it. Basically with English, you can feel comfortable here, especially with dating. I feel like, unfortunately for me, if the person doesn't speak English well, it's a deal breaker because communication is like the most important thing. Maybe it's also a reason why I haven't been on many dates with Vietnamese guys because sometimes they don't speak English that well. Probably should have tried, but never needed to. It's like minimum. You can survive with basics. I know many people who learn Vietnamese specifically, especially like if they have a Vietnamese partner. If I had a Vietnamese partner, I would probably also try it because I feel like it's really important if you try learn your partner's language because like it shows them that you care about their culture, about their language. Basically, I've never needed Vietnamese that much.
Any advice you'd like to share for dating in Vietnam?
I mean, obviously there's a lot of competition compared to some other places like Phu Quoc, which is an island near here. Yeah, you turn on the dating apps and there's 3 people. You turn on the dating apps here and there's 300,000 people, sort of thing. So I guess you need to stand out a little bit. You need to put your best foot forward, so to speak. You need to be honest up front about what you want. But I think it's about mutually connecting with other people that are like you, want the same things. Obviously, if you meet girls, you might meet other girls that have boyfriends, you kind of connect with them and form sorts of groups and whatnot. So I've been very lucky to meet some really cool people that live here. But there's no real rules in dating. You just kind of got to put yourself out there, see what comes back and kind of work with it and find out what you like, what you don't like, and then be very honest and upfront for the next kind of relationships and people that you meet. So, but everyone's super friendly. Everyone's very proud of Vietnam and the Vietnamese culture, which I really, really like. There's no right or wrong way to do it, so just get out there, see who you meet, and good luck to you.
People who just come here and they're like, oh, maybe like I'm going to a new country and I can go meet really nice people and go on some nice dates, enjoy my time. Yeah, it does happen. Maybe like lower your expectation. Like it sounds really sad, but if you come here thinking that you for sure will find something, that it's not necessarily happening. And I do speak from my personal experience, but I've got lots of extremely beautiful girls, like talented girls who do stuff, sing, cook, dance, who look amazing, who take care of themselves, and they're still single because they also go on dates, they try to find people, and then it doesn't work out often. Good guys are out there, but they're just getting harder and harder to find. The older you are, the more of your age group are already in relationships and stuff. That's my advice. Come with an open heart, but with low expectations, because if you have high expectation, then you get frustrated when it's not fulfilled. If you have low expectation and then actually it's better, and then you are happy because like it was better than you expected. So
that's the best advice. Don't expect anything.
I know how bad it sounds, but just from my personal experience, I want to say I still believe in love because I do see good examples. To be fair, mostly from my family though, because the relationship of my parents is good. The relationship of my brother with his wife is good. I still believe in good things, but I have learned to not get discouraged too much, because if you do, then you just get into depression and never want to date again, because unfortunately more often people would meet the person who would either treat them not nicely or break their heart or just be a lesson, not a blessing. It's good if you learn how not to get discouraged by negative experiences. Open heart, but low expectation, but not getting discouraged by bad experiences.
If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. What did you think? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. And until then, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.